It's been 80 years since the world witnessed one of its darkest and most transformative moments. August 1945, two Japanese cities, Hiroshima and Nagasaki, vibrant centers of life, culture, and history, were forever changed. Those few seconds didn't just end a war, they marked the beginning of the nuclear age, a time when humanity gained the terrifying power to destroy itself. Today, 8 decades later, we look back. We remember the pain and the loss, but we also reflect on the lessons learned and the questions that still haunt us. Was it necessary? Could it have been avoided? And what does it all mean for our world today? A world where thousands of nuclear weapons still exist? By the summer of 1945, World War II had been raging for nearly 6 years. In Europe, Germany had surrendered, but in the Pacific, Japan fought on with fierce determination. The Japanese military refused to accept unconditional surrender, and American forces were suffering heavy casualties in every battle, from the Black Sands of Iwo Jima to the bloody cliffs of Okinawa. Meanwhile, hidden away from the world, the United States was developing a new, terrifying weapon. It was called the Manhattan Project, and it brought together some of the world's most brilliant scientific minds, J. Robert Oppenheimer, Enrico Fermi, and many others. Their secret mission was to harness the immense power locked inside the atom and create an explosive force unlike anything the world had ever seen. The Manhattan Project began in 1942, operating in secret across the United States, from the deserts of Los Alamos, New Mexico, to the sprawling facilities in Oak Ridge, Tennessee. More than 130,000 people worked on it, yet very few knew the true purpose of their labor. After years of relentless work, they succeeded. On July 16, 1945, in the New Mexico desert, the first atomic bomb was detonated in a test codenamed Trinity. The explosion created a blinding flash of light that turned the pre-dawn darkness into day, vaporizing the deserts and into glass and sending a terrifying mushroom cloud 40,000 feet into the air. The witnesses were stunned into silence. Oppenheimer famously recalled a line from Hindu scripture: "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds." The test proved the weapon worked. The question was no longer if it could be used, but if it should be. By late July 1945, President Harry S. Truman faced a grim decision. Military estimates projected that a full-scale invasion of Japan could cost over 1 million Allied lives. At the same time, Japan's government showed no sign of surrender. At the Potsdam Conference, Truman issued an ultimatum: surrender unconditionally or face prompt and utter destruction. Japan refused. The order was given. 3 bombs had been built. One was used for the Trinity test. The other two, nicknamed Little Boy and Fat Man, were prepared for war. At 8:15 a.m. on August 6, 1945, a US B-29 bomber, the Enola Gay, flew over the city of Hiroshima. It carried the uranium bomb Little Boy. Hiroshima, a bustling city of about 350,000 people, had been largely spared from previous air raids, making it a perfect target to measure the bomb's full destructive power. When the bomb detonated 600 meters above the city, the temperature at its core reached over 4,000 degrees Celsius. In a single horrifying instant, everything within a 2-kilometer radius was vaporized. Buildings turned to dust. People near the epicenter simply vanished, leaving behind nothing but scorched shadows burned onto walls and sidewalks. In that moment, an estimated 70,000 people were killed. Tens of thousands more suffered horrific burns and radiation sickness. Fires raged through the city, and the survivors, who would come to be known as Hibakusha, wandered through the ruins in a state of shock, their skin literally hanging in shreds. One witness later recalled, "There were no words, only silence and the sound of burning." Even after the complete destruction of Hiroshima, Japan's government still hesitated to surrender. 3 days later, on August 9th, a second atomic bomb was deployed. The primary target was the city of Kokura, but heavy clouds obscured the view, forcing the bomber to divert to its secondary target, Nagasaki. At 11:02 a.m., the plutonium bomb, Fat Man, exploded over the city. The blast was even more powerful than Hiroshima's, though the city's hilly terrain helped contain some of the destruction. Still, about 40,000 people were killed instantly. Tens of thousands more would die from their injuries and the effects of radiation in the months and years to come. The city was reduced to ashes. Schools, churches, homes, and factories were all gone in a flash. Faced with a second city annihilated and with the Soviet Union now declaring war on Japan, Emperor Hirohito finally intervened. On August 15, 1945, in a historic radio broadcast, he announced Japan's unconditional surrender. It was the first time the Japanese people had ever heard their emperor's voice. He told them, "The enemy has begun to employ a new and most cruel bomb. Should we continue to fight, it would result in the total extinction of human civilization." World War II, the deadliest conflict in human history, was finally over. For the survivors of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, the war's end was the beginning of a long and painful road. Radiation poisoning caused hair loss, internal bleeding, and a mysterious sickness that doctors had never seen. In the years that followed, many survivors developed cancers and other long-term health issues. These hibakusha were often shunned by their own society, facing discrimination due to fears of radiation. Yet they became some of the world's most powerful voices for peace, dedicating their lives to ensuring that no one would ever suffer as they had. The atomic bombings didn't just end a war, they began a new and dangerous era. In the years that followed, the United States and the Soviet Union entered a frantic race to build even more powerful nuclear weapons. By the 1950s, hydrogen bombs thousands of times stronger than those dropped on Japan were being tested. The world plunged into the Cold War, a period of intense fear where the threat of nuclear annihilation hung over every generation. The legacy of Hiroshima and Nagasaki has shaped global politics ever since, a stark reminder of humanity's capacity for both genius and destruction. Today, more than 12,000 nuclear warheads still exist on our planet. Every year, on August 6th and 9th, the people of Hiroshima and Nagasaki hold memorial ceremonies. Thousands gather to release paper lanterns onto the rivers, symbolizing the souls of those who were lost. At 8:15 a.m. in Hiroshima, the entire city falls silent. Bells ring, doves are released, and for one moment the world remembers. Monuments like the Hiroshima Peace Memorial, also known as the Genbaku Dome, stand as a powerful, silent witness. The building's skeletal frame was left untouched, a permanent scar on the landscape, preserved exactly as it was after the blast. Now a UNESCO World Heritage Site, it serves as a global symbol of peace and resilience. 80 years later, the debate over the bombings continues. Some argue they were a military necessity to end the war and save lives. Others condemn them as an unforgivable act of terror against civilians. But regardless of where you stand, one truth is undeniable. The bombings showed the world the true face of nuclear war. They revealed the horror of weapons that can wipe out entire cities in the blink of an eye. The lesson of Hiroshima and Nagasaki is one we must never forget. The few remaining hibakusha have a single urgent message. For the future, no more Hiroshimas, no more Nagasakis. In the decades since, both cities have risen from their ashes, rebuilt as vibrant beacons of peace. Their ruins have been transformed into gardens, schools, and museums dedicated to remembrance and education. Their children grow up learning not about revenge, but about understanding and compassion. The people of Japan turned their unimaginable pain into a global mission to prevent nuclear war forever. 80 years ago, two cities were consumed by fire, and the world was forever changed. From those ashes, a new era began, one filled with both unprecedented fear and profound hope. The story of Hiroshima and Nagasaki is not just a story about war. It's a story about human choices, about science, power, morality, and survival. As we stand here today, surrounded by our own global tensions, we must ask ourselves, have we truly learned from the past? The memory of that August in 1945 is more than just a warning. It is a call for peace, a reminder that the future of humanity depends on our ability to choose compassion over destruction. Thank you for watching. If this story moved you, please consider subscribing and sharing to help keep these important memories alive for future generations.